medical.
Under the new law, it is still illegal to use pot in public, on college campuses, and while driving.
Monday.
Marijuana all in public. You would think that shit was legal.
Well, marijuana is now a multi-billion-dollar industry. There are people sitting in prison today for marijuana offenses.
Marijuana is not a drug.
A bill to decriminalize marijuana on the federal level was passed by the House Judiciary Committee today on a 24-10 vote.
That's some heavy shit, man.
As more and more states make marijuana legal, Major League Baseball will change its policy to keep up. The league has removed pot from its list of drugs of abuse and replaced it with opioids.
Stop hitting it so hard.
Well, you know, Al, obviously you're active in the cannabis community. Yep. And my question for you is, when is the NBA going to catch up with the rest of society and change their policies when it comes to cannabis?
I think it's really soon because the players is like, they want it bad. You know what I'm saying? They bring it up, you know, in meetings.
Critics worry the weight could lead to high demand on the black market where there's no oversight.
What kind of joint is this, man?
Medical.
And welcome to Medical Mondays, y'all. This is your host with the most, THC. It is motherfucking bloodstream, BRG. That's Berg, motherfuckers. And of course, I got my right-hand man, my co-host, my compadre, Ed Rocho. What up, though?
What up, though?
And we got our special guest. Well, I gotta say, we got our boy C Murder in the building.
What up, everyone?
And then we got our boy Brent, a.k.a. Bugs, up in Arizona, originally from Buffalo.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, of course, our boy Carl Daniels is in the building. What up, though?
Thank you for having me tonight.
Oh, for sure. So what's everybody smoking on?
Man, I got some Bruce Banner.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. I gotta give a shout out to our sponsors real quick. My bad.
Do that shit, Bird.
All right, I want to give a big shout out to AB Extractions, Made 313, Ghostbuster Farms, Western Tobacco, Michigan Turk Farms, Michigan Ganja Queen, and Label My Motherfucking Bud, y'all. So, yeah. So Carl got some Bruce Banner. What you smoking on, Roach?
Oh, yeah. I still got some of this stank breath from Michigan Ganja Queen by way of Cat Mama.
Yeah.
So shout out to both of those ladies. I want to give them a congratulations. They started a business this week together.
Oh yeah, I noticed.
Yeah, I did hear that.
Yeah, Mama Mia's
Italian Ice.
chronic ass shit for Mama Mia's. I don't know the full name, but Mama Mia's chronic ass shit.
Mama Mia's Italian. What'd you roll up, Bugs?
I got some orange, apricot, and mac.
What?
Yeah. It's fire too. Tastes like tangerines and Skittles and shit.
Did you say what you were smoking on, C-Murder?
I got some Sour OG. I also got some White Widow I'm smoking on.
Man,
that's one of Carl's favorites right there.
Dylon's in this bitch. Marijuana in Michigan, and Anna Jacobs are all in the chat right now. And anybody else in the chat, speak up. Let it be known you're up in this bitch. Let us know what you know. But yeah, I guess some new laws went into effect today, huh, Roach?
Yeah,
apparently they came up with some new hoops for people to jump through in Michigan. You know, they keep trying to figure out ways to like gouge the market and take people's money and how much are they going to charge and all of this. But I want to say, man, they're really fucking dragging their feet when it comes to the other side of this legislation, which is supposed to be giving relief to the people that have been victimized by this. I'm going to say it, this racist ass fucking war on drugs.
Amen to that.
You know, where's the progress there? Like they keep coming up with new laws and new regulations, and you know they say these new regulations are there to serve and educate and protect the people. But I want to know why we still got people locked up. Why we still got my man in jail for 3 pounds of weed, and he's been in there for fucking over 16 years. Like I want to say it broke down. They gave him like 54 years for 3 pounds. It's like 16 days per gram.
That's crazy.
All right. So
that's an injustice.
Yeah, I don't know, man. What about you, C Murder? Are you familiar with these new laws that got passed today?
Yeah, they're just not like strong enough. You know, they don't like hold any water.
Yeah, it just seems like they're spinning their wheels doing bullshit, man.
Yeah.
Well, you gotta see, like, the Republicans are in charge of the Senate and the House, and so they're the ones who get to, like, let all the, like, little amendments and everything get passed through it. And they don't want to let that happen. I saw a bunch of different things on Democrats. Jeff Irwin in Ann Arbor, he was, like, the main co-sponsor in the Democratic side, but they, you know, didn't put like expungement for like delivering and manufacturing or different things like that.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a nonviolent cannabis offender in 2020, your record should be clean by now. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking about that, and the Nevada governor pardoned like thousands of past criminal convictions concerning like cannabis. So it doesn't say. I'm looking for the actual number. All it says is thousands, but I guess thousands are better than none.
Yeah.
This stank breath, though.
Hey, that's the favorite right
there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Book's got some of the fucking stank breath. Oh shit, Rick Thompson's back.
Oh, he can explain this a lot more.
Yeah.
Because like I saw the shit and I read the article and it just made me angry. I retained little to no information and all rage.
Yeah, I know.
Modern news.
What up, Britt? How's it going, man? What you got rolled up tonight?
Sour OG today. Sour OG.
Me too.
Yeah, we were just talking about the new state laws that went into effect today.
Mm-hmm.
What's your feelings on them?
Well, what they want to do is try and make similarities. Hang on. I want to try and make the medical and the legalization laws, you know, more congruent so that it makes it easier for everybody down at the corporate office. But I think when they pursue simplicity, sometimes they do it at the cost of what we intended in the legalization program. You know, they've got a lot of very business friendly proposals that they're going to be doing. So.
Yeah, that's what it sums up to.
Yep. You hit the lights. I'll get something different here.
But yeah, so hey Bugs, so I wanted to ask you how are things in like Arizona as far as like the laws coming into effect and like new regulations and everything?
I mean, I think for the third attempt, we have tried to get recreational on the ballot. Apparently, we finally have enough signatures to make that happen this year. But as many other states are experiencing, it's a double-edged sword, particularly when it comes to the medical program protections, and when it comes to, you know, DUI checkpoints and all of this. I mean, we are a prison for profit state. We have been. It's golf courses and prisons here, and you know, locking up nonviolent offenders is still very much a part of their agenda. So, you know, it's like your guy just said. You know, it's very good for corporations, people that are already making money, but the equality programs are still not you know, written down. There's no literature on any of that, you know, and it basically just secures a monopoly for those already making money in this industry
and who already have money.
Yeah, and how it works in Arizona is they do a lottery when it comes to these, and you know, the big dogs in it will buy up 50 lottery tickets, you know, and it almost guarantees them a position or the next license. And some of these people, like Curaleaf or some of the other big names like Harvest, you know, they own 12, 14 licenses, you know, out of 130 licenses. So it's definitely a monopoly. It's not helping, and they're pushing out the same shit quality meds that, you know, I mean, there is no options here. The black market will continue to thrive as a result of that.
Definitely. You probably find better meds in the black market. That's
100. I mean, it's always been that way, and that's kind of, I think, you know, that's what I think. No matter where you are, that's what we're fighting for. Is, you know, those mom and pop people, all those people that have been disparaged through the war on drugs, to finally get validated. You know what I mean? A lot of blood was spilled for what? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and I mean, I don't know, man. You tell me if it's the same thing in Arizona, but it seemed like there was a period of time here in Michigan, maybe like 3 years, from like 2013, 2014 to 2017, where the medical market was working just fine. You know, there wasn't testing and all of that, and that is an issue and a problem. But people were just doing patient to patient. They were getting hooked up with caregivers that actually cared about their conditions, and, you know, sought out strains and different, you know, different,
Yeah, it was more like a community. Yeah,
different ingestion methods and all of this for people to better treat themselves. And then, like, all this regulation came down and everything got legalized, and, you know, that patient to patient market was a threat.
Oh yeah.
And the police no longer had this crime to address. So they were, you know, their quotas were falling by the wayside.
True.
So now
That's why they brought that down.
All that love and community that was going on is pretty much all but gone.
It's gone here too.
And,
yeah. So
and that community is now, for a lack of a better term, criminal. It's like a criminal thing now.
Yeah.
And everybody's happy again. Like, you know, law enforcement has something to do because there's a black market, and all this corporate cannabis is just trying to, like, saturate the market with bullshit and take, you know, uneducated customers' money. It's sad.
Absolutely. No, so how they extinguished exactly what you're talking about, because it's very similar to the story of the Arizona medical marijuana program, was they enacted something called the 25-mile rule, which was if you are within 25 miles of a dispensary, you have zero grow rights, and basically you are dependent on the dispensaries around you for your medicine. They put these at miles away from each other. So unless you're on the edge of civilization, you do not have those rights, which for the betterment of the community, it pretty much encompasses all of us. You know what I mean? So that definitely hurt everything. And, you know, you have a lot of people that have money that have no idea what this plan is about, what it represents for so many people and its potential. But they have the money to play the game. And unfortunately, corporate takeover is something we're all familiar with. It's now become a format. So now there's states that have zero program when it, you know, so to speak, and they already know how they're going to roll this out. You know what I mean? And there needs to be something, I guess, that we can do. But I think so many people are just excited to have any kind of program available to them. Most people don't dig enough to really care. They just want free weed, you know, or they just want access to it, you know. And until you dig a little deeper and you kind of find out what's going on, you would see it as progress, you know. And I think that misinformation there, this bullshit that they're going to stimulate the economy and fix all the schools, I think that misinformation there is exactly why we have the problems we do. Because I'm telling you, they're not putting any college.
Look, I thought the lottery was supposed to be fucking fixing up the schools and all that shit.
Look, you know how that goes, right? They had school funding at this level, then they got the lottery. Lottery brought a whole bunch of money in, and then they just dropped this. So they had the exact same amount of money going into the schools, just from a different source. And then all that extra cash, they took it at other things with. But what Roach was saying here in Michigan was absolutely true. We had 550 dispensaries in the gray market open. And between 2014 and 2016, 2017, that's when the state came down heavy and hard. That's before legalization. That was before even the MMFLA. They started shutting down things in Gaylord. They started wrecking Detroit the way it was. We really saw us go from 550 dispensaries across the state down to, 100. And that was just in a matter of a couple of years. They really decided that at one point they just had enough. Here, I got Cannabis Business Times today, just came in. The front fucking cover, it talks about not being able to stop illegal cannabis in the United States of America. Guess what? You're not going to be able to. It's generational. There are people that are always going to buy their cannabis from the same guy they always bought it from. It doesn't matter what your damn store says or does. This is the guy they hang out with. This is the guy who coaches their kids' little league team. This is the guy that lives 2 doors down from their dad. People they've known forever. And they're not going to switch those sources. So oftentimes when people get into this industry, Brett, you know what I'm talking about, they think they're going to get the entire pie. And then when they realize they only get part of a mouthful, they decide they want the whole fucking thing. But the fact is, when you walked into this industry, people already were buying cannabis from illegal sources. So if you thought you were magically going to change that just because some dude in the state capitol gave you a fucking license, your shit's screwed, troop, because that was never going to happen in the first place.
Man, I couldn't agree with you more, Rick. But if you would give me a moment, I'd like to introduce your friend and mine, Jamie Lowell. What's up, Jamie?
Hey, everybody. Just having another good night out here. Good conversation so far. Enjoying it.
Yeah, what you smoking on, man?
Sour diesel.
Oh,
old
shit.
fashioned.
Whole lot of sour going on that side of the state, man. Y'all getting down.
His side of the state.
He lives at 6 and Woodward, so he's right by you.
Damn.
Wait,
So where the fuck is my sour?
I have sour
on your
OG
side of
too.
the state, Jamie.
What is this light situation going on?
There you go. That's more right.
Oh yeah.
I will say that Brent is exactly correct. He described what we've noticed here and have had to deal with here. These people with the resources, the ability to come into the game, do so without any understanding of the history or the nature of the plant, and they make really stupid decisions as a result.
And those buffer zones that you described, Brent, we had to face that kind of a thing when we authored the cannabis legalization program, because there were people out there that tried to emulate all of those restrictive models from all the different states out there, including talking about that shit. It's all designed just to protect people's business model as opposed to liberating the plant, which is what we, the authors, most of us anyway, we're really looking forward to, liberating the plant, not necessarily providing a pathway for people to make billions of dollars.
Yeah, and like another problem that I had with that initial bill, even when it was in the gray market, was that a dispensary couldn't be located within 1,000 feet of a school or church, and a lot of businesses got shut down for being within 1,000 feet of an abandoned school or an abandoned church. Like it was a church 15 fucking years ago.
You talking
Or
about
one of those strip mall, or one of those strip mall churches. It's like, it's not even an
Or-
actual church.
or
Yeah.
parks, or just an old park that doesn't even get used. It's overgrown. That stopped people from being able to put a store in. Too.
Yeah.
Detroit has a worse definition of a drug-free school zone, which is what that's based on.
Yep.
That most places do, and it's so.
Like, one of my favorite dispensaries from back in the day when it was like that gray market actually got shut down over being, you know, within 1,000 feet. No, they actually got shut down for being within 1,000 feet of a major crossroad. And
Where was it?
it was called King of Buds. It was on 6 Mile, McNichols and Gratiot. And they came back at a new location like about a year and a half, 2 years later. And it just wasn't the same. It was the same owners and stuff, but it wasn't the same. They didn't have the same quality of flowers, strangely enough. You know, because it's like a catch-22. You create these processes and these licenses that cost money, and then like the people who are running this business, you know, end up taking shortcuts on their product because they're just trying to get in the game. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
And
that's one of the concerns we always have, you know, and then they try to overcompensate by having these aggressive testing programs to test for every possible thing under the sun, as if that's magically supposed to make it, you know, okay to smoke. It drives me crazy, the hypocrisy that we see, you know.
Yeah, and like at the end of the day, man, you can dummy the test. You can get one over. Like it's a proven method that you can take some contaminated product, do a little bullshit remediation, and now you have a viable product again. And that's fucking bullshit.
Today's rules gave them 2 more ways to remediate product too. So they have 2 additional ways to reuse cannabis that didn't pass at least 1 level of testing. Plus they also authorized the sale of cannabis from cultivation centers to processors without any test results so that they could automatically turn it directly into oil. That's curious to me because why? I mean, we very clearly said, you know, this whole thing is a little weird. I haven't had time to dig into all of the rules, but some of them seem very much as if business wrote the regulations themselves.
Of course they did, though. I mean, who's taking the time to invest, you know, into this, but people that already have an interest in it. And that's the thing is, at one point, the community was in one way organized. I think this has done nothing but destroy that morale.
Yeah,
and that was so
divided.
critical.
You know, people came up. You know, I know several people that came up in the Michigan game that like went their separate ways. Like after this, you know, after all the, you know.
Look, if you haven't suffered post-mortem in this industry, you just got here. You know what I mean?
That's very true. A lot of people that never had to get pulled over with the flashing lights. A lot of people never been raided. Now trying to make a $1 billion and stopping the rest of us from having a chance to make a couple of nickels along the way.
Yeah, there's just a lot of shitty business people involved in this industry, and they're greedy. And you know, you see your average bud tender's salary across the nation, and you know, this is not what it should be. You know, I mean, these people are making millions of dollars every
Arizona, do you have to like go to classes and like everything to become a fucking bud tender?
Yeah, it depends on who it is. They definitely have continual education through doctors and all of that stuff. And quite frankly, if you don't know what you're talking about, you're not going to last.
Yeah,
So,
they don't even do that here. They just hire, you know, somebody they know or some pretty girl, you know.
Look, I went into a dispensary and the bud tender didn't even know what terps were.
Well, it's retail space now. It's no longer a medical program. They've already set it up for, you know, This is going to be Target, Walmart.
They're
McDonald's.
Starbucks baristas, Brent. I mean, if you look at the stores, they look just like Starbucks on the inside. They're all East Coast chic, right? With the fancy chandeliers and
I haven't
and
been
all
in
of the
there.
sweet floors and everything. It looks
I
just
don't
like
know
one of those
the
things.
hype.
Jamie, you've been trying to say something for a minute, Jamie. I've seen you.
You know, I think I was chiming in on something a little bit more appropriate to what was being discussed before, but
Yeah.
one of the approaches I've noticed anyway, of kind of the big business strategy to artificially gain market control are the latest like round of studies that have come out, and we've dealt with this before. These kind of repackaged data to make it seem as though cannabis has a correlation to something really bad or whatever. And this latest trend seems to be like, yes, it's good for some things, but it's still dangerous, and we have to keep it really controlled and restricted. And that coincides with some like a bigger money based lobbying, but also like business associations and things like that are calling for way stricter regulations and things like stuff like even if you're in business, you'd have a hard time paying to keep up with. And point being to drive other people out. And it just fits with what we're talking about here. And I just look out for that kind of stuff. It's just I've noticed that now several times the last couple of years.
I don't know who's priced a chromatography unit anytime soon, but that's the least of your costs. The media that you need to run through all of that, your solvents, all of that, it's definitely expensive. So yeah,
I mean,
unless you're out.
There's no level of this industry in what we call the 5 noble industries, with testing and transportation and cultivation and retail and all the rest of that. Those 5 industries, you can't get into them for an expensive amount. We designed the micro business with the idea that it would be a sort of a ladder, a step stool for people who didn't have a whole lot of cash to get into the industry. But I'm not exactly sure that's a dream that's been realized by the way that the rules have been dropped down. We tried to put a lot of Easter eggs. Jamie knows he was actually one of the real authors. Maybe like 9-10 people in the state can actually claim that. Jamie's one. I mean, we tried to put a lot of Easter eggs in there that would help us out, but at some point we were limited.
Yeah, well, this, the way it was set up too, the state would make a lot of the rules and fill in a lot of the gaps, and
yeah,
so it was laid on them.
Like, here's the thing about cannabis, man, is that trying to and I mean, it is a business. I get that. And anybody who grows cannabis to pay their bills definitely has a business mindset. But I think like above that, what keeps people in cannabis, as opposed to, just being a quote unquote drug dealer, if that's just how they want to make money, it's not that. It's, a sense of pride, of craftsmanship. Laura is never going to be as strict as, let's say, and I don't mean this in a narcissistic way, but like, let's look at some of our sponsors, like Ghostbuster Farms. Like, you don't have to tell that guy, don't have heavy metals in your shit. Like, his pride and the care that he puts into his product is going to supersede whatever law they come up with. You know what I'm saying?
When you smoke your own cannabis, you're not poisoning it, right, Roach?
Right. Michigan Ganja Queen, like her pride in the product that she's putting out to the people, you know what I'm saying? And like, I think it really shows during this quarantine time, like how growers are not just trying to get that top dollar. Like, people are talking about that there's a fucking drought, and they're like, prices are going up $1,000 on every unit, and like, whatever, I guess that's part of being in a capitalist society. But not all growers are like that. Some growers are really trying to get their medicine to the people that need it, and you can't legislate that. There's no way to do that. Like, I don't even think that would even occur to a lawmaker. So the cannabis business really doesn't belong under the rule of the government, in my
No.
opinion. Like it's
I mean,
just
really,
just
like,
ridiculous.
bro, it's totally ridiculous. You know, just like the whole fucking first stage of, you know, legalizing marijuana, the whole marijuana board, you know, look at who they put in charge of that shit.
Yeah,
Like, it's all
retired state police, people that were part of the CVS board of directors, all kinds of trash ass people. I mean, not anything personal against them, but just in their title alone, fucking betrays their new position.
They
So,
weren't
like,
paid. They didn't understand that type of processes of government. And many stepped down from a good situation to take that non-paying job for that board.
I mean,
they got
there's
beat
so
up.
many. There's
They
so
got beat
many
up by the media.
people out there that like don't even like see any conflict of interest when it comes to politics. You know, like look at all these politicians that used to be CEOs of, you know, fucking big ass corporations, and now they're in a certain position to vote for certain things that, you know, once they're out of office, they're still pulling money from that other company, you know?
Like Rick Snyder.
Yeah. Well, I mean, federally, we have a guy who hates the Environmental Protection Agency that was running the Environmental Protection Agency with the goal of shrinking it down to almost nothing. And here in Michigan, that marijuana regulatory board you talked about, Roach, that was appointed by the legislature. This is what happens when you get the House and the Senate and they spend 2 years kicking something around and changing it and tweaking other little details. They screw shit up. You haven't got the best idea at the beginning and come out, it looks like nothing you even thought about when you started. Jamie knows. We've been through this too many times, you know, trying to inspire legislation in Michigan and seeing exactly how twisted it was by the end product. You lose faith in the system when you see it firsthand.
And like, my hat's off to you guys, because you guys are really out there fighting the good fight, man. I appreciate you, but it's not fair that you have to, you know, take just this certain amount of time to come up with this magical incantation. And like you said, you know, we're like trying to put Easter eggs in there to help us. And then, like, you know, you just got to lob this fucking Hail Mary and hope that we make it to the red zone. And like, what the fuck is that? And that's why I'm so fucking upset with the cannabis community not taking a more active role in what's going on in society right now, because like the tenets that this country was based on, even if those people that were basing it were fucking racist themselves, you know, if we're going to just take what they said, like no taxation without representation, like we should have oversight, the community, not the cannabis community, the United States, the people should have oversight into anything that governs us. And we don't. And we let it go. And like
That's why
every
we
year,
have Congress, bro.
that's all bullshit. We need to be right there, like finger
I would
on the
say,
fucking
where
pulse.
were you in 2015 or 16 when I was collecting all those signatures for the first, like, Michigan legalized? Because, like, it would have protected all those caregivers. We would have, like, 50,000 more signatures. Have been, like, on the ballot, like, no question.
I might legalize 2016's language
They
was
might have
way
fucked
better.
us. Yeah.
You guys
That's
want
what
my
I would've
honest
said.
opinion on
You're
that?
like three or 4 years too late, Roach.
Yeah, and like, you know, and it is a shame because like at that point in time, I was just kind of like feeling like this was stupid and like they're gonna use this against us later. And like, you know, you guys are fighting the good fight, but like maybe like, man, our win really isn't gonna be a win. And I don't think it was. Like, it's great where we're at, but fuck, man. I knew they were gonna fuck it up, man, and it's not your fault. But the powers that be, the corporation that is the United States government, is gonna undo whatever good we try to do. I hate to sound like that, but it's like that because we don't have any active oversight or say. Like, for some reason, the general public has to make decisions and have foresight that people with training aren't even held responsible for, whether it's against the police or voting for a politician. It's fucked up.
There is one thing that's coming back on board, that could be influential as far as the legislature is concerned, and that's the return of the Democratic Cannabis Caucus. So that's being reformed, and those positions are now being filled. And there's an agenda being created of issues to discuss, largely centering around the expungement issue, descheduling. Descheduling would be right in the mix of solving many of the issues that you're talking about here tonight.
Yeah.
2014 to 2016, we were campaigning for the 2016 MI legalized, so there was a lot of attention in the state. 2016 to 18, we were campaigning for the second MI legalized, which is the Committee to Regulate Marijuana like Alcohol. From 2018 to 20, we campaigned nothing because we won, right? So that's the point at which participation took a dive. So in 2019 and this year in 2020, there's been very little citizen participation in legislative issues when it comes to cannabis. All they're hearing are lobbyists representing business interests. Now, the system allows lobbyists to go there and represent the interests. It's the way the system works, but there's no us in it anymore. There's no people there like we used to. And this last year and a half, I think that there's a lot of things that went against us that probably wouldn't have if, like Roach said, people remained engaged in lawmaking.
Yeah, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, man. It's a double-edged sword.
Well, and haven't we become like accustomed at this point to fractional freedoms? Do you know what I mean? Half wins are considered wins. If it's not segregated, that means racism doesn't exist. All these bullshit farces that we buy into. These minimum freedoms just to kind of appease us for the next 5 years. So people do shut up about it. And
incrementalism, yeah.
Yep.
And I mean, I haven't seen a bill written for any state that seemed to be on the original mission statement, Not one. Maybe Portland, maybe Oregon is as close, because I've seen like 70 dispensaries on one street in Eugene. And I can see that being troublesome too, but there are wins, but generally those people are struggling anyway,
I don't know, man. This whole conversation has me stressed the fuck out, man. I wish I had some of that banana OG from Michigan Turf Farms.
Oh, you don't got any left, man? I got a joint right here, dog.
Berg, you teasing us, man. That's not fair.
All right, man.
What? You want it?
I'm trying to smoke, bro. I need to smoke.
All right, man. Here. Oh shit!
Sneaky.
Bet it up. We're smoking. Ooh, shout out Michigan Turf Farms.
Yeah, this shit's fire, man.
Roach took a hit of Berg's banana. First time ever Medical Mondays.
Damn, always
long distance banana smoking. Nice.
That was pretty
It doesn't
sneaky.
sound right when Jamie says it.
He always says it with a twist,
I don't know, man. You're not getting this one back, Berg.
Hey man, I had the fortune of trying out a couple of Michigan Turf Farms.
Yeah, how was it, man?
Real good.
Yeah. Which one did you prefer, or
I liked them both. I would say that the melon, I liked them both a lot, maybe equally, but I said the melon berry maybe had some more flavor going on, maybe a little more essence or something. But the other one was not shabby. I mean, it was quite awesome. No. The effect was right on too. That they know how to really get
arms.
They really make the buds express themselves, man, to their potential. It's just not everybody can do that. Even people who produce really good cannabis can't quite take it to the level where Michigan Turf Farms do.
I think Terps is part of their name because They're there. The terps are there. What the name of the fucking weed is, it tastes like. It's crazy.
Jamie, did you get that from the botanical company up in Tawas? Is that where you got the Michigan Terp Farms?
No, Berg swung by and dropped it off right in the parking lot here for me in Detroit.
That's awesome.
It was much appreciated.
Teamwork.
Yep.
Teamwork makes the dream work. That's what I always say.
I've been the beneficiary of some driveway conversations and trunk popping with my caregiver. Still be able to legally interact, but with COVID-19 kind of a procedure.
Was it a Steph Curry McFlurry?
It had nowhere near the kind of pizzazz that would have.
Oh man, out to everybody in the chat. They're talking about what they're smoking on. Prop 1 is smoking on some purple garlic, and that's Oreos times GMO. Mike G is smoking on some overdose, like do-si-do. And then
that
9-pound hammer.
Yeah.
Mike G's asking where Michigan Terp Farm stuff could be found, but I don't know. You gotta get it someone you know, man. So.
BE to the fucking RG, apparently.
What?
That's you. That's how Michigan Terp Farms can be found, right?
I
Mobile
know.
Terp Farms distributor.
I know.
Anytime, anywhere.
Maybe Michigan Terp Farms will find you.
Right.
See murder.
It's kind of scary coming from C Murder, right? Maybe they'll find you, motherfucker.
Well, I don't know. If you just post a comment, I'm sure that maybe somebody might see it.
Everybody's not you, see murder.
No.
I forget that sometimes.
Yeah.
See murder.
We all aspire to it.
I want some dirty Sprite in midnight, and that shit shows up before midnight.
I need some real Tangy. I need some shit that smells so bad, people leave the room when I open the bag. I need some Tangy that just smells. You know what I'm saying? You know that scent. That's what I'm missing. Oh, I love it.
You've never had the orange Skittles?
I have had the orange Skittles. So good from Terp Farms.
Arrow. Yep.
I'm pretty sure that Orange Skittles was in a High Times Cannabis Cup judging kit that I had, because I believe Orange Skittles was left on the side of the pre-roll container. Fucking amazing. Good stuff. I love the citrus flavors, you know?
Yeah. Ain't no secret, man. I'm not a big fan of the orange terps, but I like the grapefruit terps. And I've always said it, man. If you're gonna smoke some orange shit, better make it that Michigan Terp Farms orange Skittles, because that's the best one.
For sure. I like their banana too, man. It's like pineapple banana. It tastes like pineapple banana.
Man, I posted some shit from him yesterday, man, and like I said in the post, so much many more, a lot of more flavors to come, bro. Like,
I've been to so many places where, you know, there could be 20 jars of cannabis. You could mix them all up like a 5-card Monty guy, 3-card Monty guy in New York, right? And you wouldn't be able to tell which one was which. They were almost identical, right? But that's why it's so amazing when you get one that really expresses, like Jamie was talking about, like you're talking about, Roach, when you get something that really, you know, epitomizes the flavor. I mean, that's to be savored. You want to spread that shit around. You want to talk about it. Oh.
Trademark, copyright, Roach, Medical Mondays. I think cannabis is judged all wrong. We should be doing it like the Westminster Dog Show, you know, like the preliminaries at least, where you're judging, you know, orange weed against other orange weed, lemon weed against other lemon weed, to get like the standard specimen for the breed, and then, you know, judge that amongst all the strains.
No,
But we
because
have to have
like
that head to
Ghostbuster
head.
Farms, Ghostbuster Farms got that fucking super lemon haze that's super fucking fire. But I'm not even a haze kind of guy. You know what I'm saying?
But it's fire.
That shit, yeah, that shit
Yeah,
right
no.
there.
And I'll say, like, there should be an award for that. Because, like, there's certain strains that I'm really not a fan of. Like, I'm not a fan of orange. I'm not a fan of sunshine. But from certain growers, like, that shit is stupid fire. And I think it has to do with the cut and the way they cultivate. Because Michigan Ganja Queen, she's got that sunshine like the homie G's got the same cut. And that shit is like phenomenally good. But 99.9% of the other sunshine out there is like absolute trash to me. Like, I'm just not a fan of that strain.
Yeah, like getting strains from like, I mean, do you, what is she going by now? Cat Mama.
Cat Mama.
She's the one. She's the only one that I know that even came close to Rip Genetics. Fucking stank breath.
For sure.
Yeah. But shout out to Rip Genetics, you know, for the OG, all their shit, man.
Awesome head crackers too. Yeah, like that's when you know you found a good grower, when strains you're not particularly a fan of are fucking stupid fire. That's what I like to see. Like you said, Ghostbusters got the lemon, Dirt Farm's got the orange, Ganja Queen's got the sunshine.
Bro, Michigan Works has the Wi-Fi. I'm not even big fan of Wi-Fi, but their Wi-Fi, white fire, dog. Like, it lives up to the name. But yeah.
Yeah, our Wi-Fi here gives me anxiety.
Yeah, like I'm still waiting to try some of that Guile OG.
Yo, you and everybody else. Yeah, this industry is like that, man. Yeah, I'm telling you, it'll happen. It'll happen. I don't know if I don't completely bow out from the industry, to be very honest. I mean, I'm on that cuff right now where, you know, I've seen it all. I've seen every part of this industry. You know, I've done every job in this industry, and
like in several states too, right?
In several states, and it's just you know, if I'm gonna be the little guy champion at heart, my heart's gonna get broken every fucking day. And that's the unfortunate thing, at least here on the West Coast. Sounds like you guys are going through it too, but yeah, I mean, I just honestly am enjoying being a patient again. Rediscovering my love with, you know, why even
like, I mean, like, do you talk to growers, or like, do you have to go to a dispensary, or what?
No, both. Yeah, I mean, both. You know, still, but I mean, that's my access to it. I don't think anybody else would be as comfortable doing that. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, it's. I mean, I still help the little guys. I still consult for free. You know what I mean? And then when the corporations call me, it's $10,000. So you know what I mean? I've learned to snipe out when it comes to the business side of it, what it is I need financially from it. But as far as participating on a daily basis, I've taken a step away a few months ago, actually right around the Corona shit, you know, and it's really put things in perspective. It's like, what do I really want out of this as an individual?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about also, was like, you know, how was that Corona shit in Arizona? Like,
we're getting our second wave. Now you have to wear masks everywhere you go. It's a red state, so most people are like, fuck this shit. If Trump ain't wearing a mask, I'm not wearing a mask, ass shit, you know, and I thought that was irresponsible. They locked us down. They, you know, ended school, everything like they did everywhere else. And I don't think they took it nearly as serious, or, you know, I mean, it's hard to say, man. There's so much misinformation on that shit. I honestly, I want to play ignorant until it's all settled, to be very
Did they, did cannabis businesses were considered essential?
Essentially, yes, they were. Yes, they were. Fortunately, they were. There were some restrictions, like on quantity, what you could get per day, and they limited it at most places to an ounce because they were worried about hoarding. Even though we already have a limit of 2.5 ounces every 2 weeks anyway. So, sucks for somebody with cancer making their own RSO, but if you're smoking weed right now, like I am, somehow you make it work.
No, and Rick and Jamie, tell me, am I wrong, or is this also like an aspect of this war on drugs, so to speak, where there's like this psychological warfare that people are going through if they want to be a part of this? Like, a lot of people get started for different reasons than trying to pay a bill or get a license or clear fucking testing. And at the end of the day, that's what these people are reduced to. And like, it changes you. Like, I know people, it's good to grow and like expand your business and the way you are, but at a certain point, like, it's dehumanizing. And you're not looking at people as patients anymore. You have to look at them as like numbers, as SKUs.
Roach, there's a great line from the band Rush. It goes, one likes to believe in the freedom of music, but glittering prizes and various compromises shatter the illusion of integrity. And we've seen a lot of glittering prizes, and we've seen a ton of various compromises. And that really does erode almost all industries. But in this industry, it's even more prominent because we've risen so quickly. So we've been able to see that kind of corrosion happen in a really short time frame. It's kind of shocking to see how bad it can possibly get at the state level. Is that an appropriate use of Rush? I mean, I don't want Geddy Lee to come kick my ass or anything. It's a pretty good quote, I thought, man.
I thought it was great too.
All right. A little bit of love from you guys. Thanks, man. It's a virus. I need more than that. Come on. Sorry.
D-Max up in the chat. Shout out to D-Max, aka Darren McCary.
Well, then he heard me say Rush. I know Darren's a fan.
Darren.
What you smoking on now, C Murder? I'm gonna make him have to unmute himself real quick while he's dying from a bong hit.
This one's a White Widow.
White Widow. Man, I gotta get you some new terps. My bad. I've been slacking, bro.
Yeah. So what's going on in Arizona as far as like the strains? What's everybody clamoring for?
I mean, there was such a limited selection, honestly, for so many years. And now they're bringing in strains from everywhere, calling them different names, going to cups, collecting seeds, and finally bringing those to the patients. You are starting to get more flavorful, more terpy strains, higher percentages and whatnot. But I think we're still in our infancy when it comes to quality in Arizona. And that's just being flat out honest. I could go to Buffalo, I can go to Cali, they have better weed than we do here. And I mean, at least on a commercial availability level, you know what I mean? It's trash. It's hot trash. You will always find Blue Dream, Amnesia, Haze, these kind of like old strains in every dispensary. And I don't know. Now they brought in growers, OG people to try to take this to another level in popularity. That's kind of exciting to see, but it's not anywhere as boutique as it should be.
Yeah, there's no cookie store in Arizona yet.
Yeah, no, not a cookie store. We do have whoever the company is behind it, though, a Trike or whatever.
Gage.
Yeah, it's different in each state.
Yeah.
It's just a name, bro. Like it's.
All I know is they're charging people, somewhere in the middle between like, Oregon where you pay $4 a gram, and California now where eighths cost you $78.
Oh, that's how it is here at the cookie store. And like the cookie store here is like, I want to say it's like owned by Gage or some partnership or something.
Yeah, it's all partnered with cookies. So
I mean,
whatever, man.
quality around. You know, that we had people from California that were supplying Arizona with really good meds for a long time. We had underground markets and stuff and all that shut down. The eroding of the community allowed a lot of snitches to come in, and they kind of stole the fun out of it. You know what I mean? That's the unfortunate thing. They're like, we don't have events. They have non-medicated events where everybody talks about how they like weed.
Wow, that's got to be tremendously boring.
It is, dude. So like, as you can tell, you know, it's a little cynical when it comes to the Arizona community anyway, which is why I chose to take my ventures elsewhere, different places. But that was just to get that exposure, you know, again. But I'm back here as a patient again, and it does suck. Pays one to no one. Or few.
So, and what, they still have that 25 mile rule or whatever?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think what we're talking about now, and this has kind of been the general, you know, goal was something like 6 plants per household if they pass recreational, up to like 24 per household. And, you know, I think that would really be helpful. I mean, at the end of the day, just putting the medicine back in people's hands, that was my original goal. It wasn't to make a ton of money. It was to have grandma who grows the best tomatoes on the fucking block grow the best weed for her glaucoma, for her whatever, and not have to worry about going to prison for it. And any kind of home grow to me is a victory. So that's when I take medicine into my hands. But being a father of 2 kids, like, I'm not taking that risk right now. I've seen it destroy people, you know, under the pretenses of these legal programs and all that bullshit. I don't believe it until I see it, you know.
Another reason to deschedule.
Yeah, I mean, agreed, man. You know, I'm just some dude, but like I always knew where to find some fire. I was behind all this legislation because I thought it was gonna have to, you know, keep the parents of children and the elderly from having to go and deal with the people that I deal with to get that fire.
Well, I mean, that's the lovely part of being a patient. You know what I mean? Is that journey is just, you know what I mean? I mean, if you've been smoking weed for the last decade, you know, none of this is all new. You know what I mean? This industry talk and all of that. It was always a guy. It was always somebody had a guy that did it a little better. And then there were those people that were bringing it in from British Columbia, from, you know, up from Mexico, up from, and you know, you just kind of took that journey. And to me, that was a romantic part of this whole thing. Getting excited about those new strains, those new growers, those new delivery methods and whatnot, you know.
For sure, man.
You have to continue to love that, you know.
Well, as the market gets saturated with cannabis, then we'll see prices drop like Oregon dropped. Brent, you know about. I mean, it went down to shit. They were paying you to take cannabis off their hands, practically.
We're literally like, we'll give you a free quarter if you buy an eighth. You know what I mean?
Yep. So right now in Michigan, there's really no check valve on how many licenses are going to issue to cultivators. So you got, you know, people growing thousands and thousands and thousands of plants, all of them going to hit the market late 2020 as all of that ramp up from the first part of it becomes realized. So consumers win in a price war like that. But what's really lost, I think, is the variety. I think the feedback directly when you can talk to a caregiver and say, I have an ailment, I have an issue, and this is what I need. And they can go online, do some research, talk to their other compadres, find out what strain might be best for you. You could get that grown for you by people who actually cared. Now it's like talking to the person at McDonald's and saying, hey, I'd like something with lamb in it. That shit's not going to happen. You know, you can tell them what you want all day long. They have no power to make that change. there's no direct feedback with the cultivator like there was in the caregiver system. And I think that's what patients miss. I know I miss it.
Yeah.
No, like I have like my last little piece of hope attached to these what is that where they're trying to help people that've been a victim of
social equity programs.
Yeah, the social equity programs and the micro business, man. I'm high as fuck. I want to see people take advantage of this, because like that is like one of the, you know, silver linings to all the bullshit that we're dealing with, is that, you know, somebody might be able to set up a little mom and pop cannabis business in their neighborhood, and like it be generational, and, you know, be like the cannabis equivalent of Cheers. You know, sometimes you want to go.
I love that.
Especially connect one of those to a social lounge. It'd be perfect.
Yeah, you know, I would love to see that, because it's like a micro business consumption lounge. You can grow, process, and distribute. Like, man, I might have to do it myself, because I haven't seen it yet.
Well, you should, man. It's being worked on in some places, but no, it's not in the type of abundance that it should be. What's going to help that, or what probably is going to be needed, is the local places taking it upon themselves to extend the state mandated social equity kind of approach and be a lot more specific about it and put a lot more teeth into it. Ypsilanti did that, or I mean, they're working on it still. They're in process, but they did make these extra provisions in the ordinance and stuff to try to help that out more.
Because on the state level, really what they offer is just discounts and application fees. And when you're looking at, you know, $500,000 to $1 million startup and for all the rest of that stuff, then knocking $4,000 off the bill doesn't really seem like much of an incentive at all. It's not really the leg up that we'd hope that it would be. And I think there's ways they could partner. I've said this a bunch of times, but with the Michigan Land Bank, to be able to get access to property for low to no cost. Small Business Association should have a separate wing specifically designed to give, you know, cannabis businesses that have a hard time finding traditional financing. They should be able to give them a leg up. Not these big guys that got their money from Trump on this whole coronavirus thing. These billion companies that got billions of dollars, but real honest to goodness people that have names like Mark and Joe and you know, that started in a neighborhood where nobody else would even bother finding a business, right? Where no one else had the guts to even put something down there and mow the lawn and keep up, right? So those are the people that should get the leg up.
Oh, definitely.
Maybe that's just my idealism. I don't know.
I mean, I know a couple of dispensaries that, like, you know, once they moved in, the area around it got better, you know. But, hey, why would
There's a couple of studies that support that.
Oh, yeah.
Experience that you've noticed.
Here in Michigan, all the dispensaries, the provisioning centers have to have all these outward facing cameras to look at the parking lot, the street, everything else too. They're like islands of safety on some of these streets where there's really no accountability anywhere else.
Hey, so right down the street from me a few years ago, the cameras that were around a dispensary, which is where Dr. Bob's Psychedelic Shack is now, helped to solve a murder, or helped to catch the murderers, because the getaway car was on the cameras and they got the license plate, tracked the guy down and busted him. Just recently at the place that I'm involved with in East Taos, the Botanical Company, we're next to a car dealership, and a guy used our parking lot to like set a van on fire on the edge of the parking lot. The guy set himself on fire. He tripped on the ground a couple times. He lost a shoe. He drove off, and before he did, he turned on his lights, exposing his license plate and everything, and then drove off. So, you know,
Caught himself. I got to see this video. I mean, how have you been hiding this?
It's pretty funny. Well, I mean, we're not. I think you could watch it, you know, up there, something like that. But we're not like just.
Why did it not make the up north news? And like,
I bet
it sounds like some
I probably did. It probably made some news.
World Star.
I hope so. I hope there's.
But anyway, the point is, like, these places are so like the standards are so incredible, way more than necessary, way more restrictive than necessary, but so high that kind of stuff at least has come out of it.
Yeah, but why was he burning the van? Did he really hate the color? Does he have a problem with Chevrolet or something?
You have to catch him and ask him. I mean, some people think he might be a disgruntled employee. So I don't know. It is
Hey,
pretty
what
funny.
if it was a pervert van? He was just getting back at some fucking.
Just
trying to destroy some
erasing
physical
all the bad
evidence?
vibes. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Burn the spooge.
Is that
Anyway,
what's going on, Rick?
I don't know. It's Jamie's story. Anytime Jamie tells a story, it's possible Spooge can enter the conversation.
It's possible, although I didn't enter into this one at any point. That was definitely Rick.
Don't blame it on Jamie, man. Don't blame it on Jamie, dog. I got Jamie's back on this one. What the hell, Rick?
It's on video. I'll probably have to own up to it.
It's gonna be a highlight on the YouTube channel.
At least I didn't fall down and let my fucking self on fire, though. That's
Yeah, I want to see this on your highlight reel tomorrow. On the
come on, YouTube it.
Oh man,
That's a 1 million view video right there, Jamie.
Yeah, speaking of which, who you guys having on Jazz Cabbage tomorrow? From 4 to 6.
Yeah.
On Facebook.
We've been having last few weeks. We've been having candidates for state house representative seats, and I have another guy coming on tomorrow who is Dave Palmer, who was recently endorsed by the Progressive Caucus, and Mike McCurdy of the Progressive Caucus and the Democratic Cannabis Caucus, and Zara Abbas of Young Democrats and the Cannabis Caucus are going to be on. We'll talk about the reforming of that organization.
The following week, next
I think
next
I
Tuesday.
might be the Cannabis Caucus person for District 12.
Okay, and just to add, it'll be our first return to
Really?
radio.
So I'm like,
State
so for
murder.
you, Berg, that's our district.
See murder.
Yep.
See
So
murder.
Jamie, return to the Cave Radio broadcast studios. Is that what you said?
Yeah, it is, and we are recruiting, by the way. The Cannabis Caucus is recruiting. I'm sure they'll talk about that when they're on there. So, yeah, but tomorrow will be the first broadcast. We've been on Zoom since the lockdown. The studio closed.
Yeah.
So we're still going to be on Zoom. We're still going to be on Facebook Live, and are also going to be back on our platform and the SoundCloud or whatever all the other shit that it goes on.
Yeah. Mixcloud, I believe, is what it is. Yeah. So diversifying our.
Who's running the Cannabis Caucus in my district?
You can certainly volunteer to be on the Cannabis Caucus.
You gotta sign up for the Democratic Party too, though.
Yeah, I think me and Berg should both be eligible for that.
It's free.
Might have to renew, possibly. But,
free.
Yeah.
And the Michigan Dems, I'm the 5th congressional district representative, or at least I'm on the e-board, they call it.
You're listed as that right now in the limited list of titles that there are.
Yeah.
Where do you live, Roach?
Detroit. Like
Which part?
Mac and Van Dyke.
Probably in 14, I think. So I don't know who's in 14, but maybe you can.
I'm not sure 14 goes all the way
Brenda Lawrence.
that far east.
I didn't see anybody from the 14th on that list of
No,
representatives either.
Not yet, but 14 like covers Southfield and some other shit too, as well as the north area of Detroit, right? So that doesn't go as far east, I don't think, as where Roach is. That's where I am. That's the district that I'm in. But there is somebody they have targeted for that. That's not me.
Or it's 9 then?
Yeah, well, what are the responsibilities? What do you got to do there? Do we storm the Capitol? I'm down with that.
Hey, come on the show tomorrow and talk to these guys about what the direction of the organization is and how they're structuring it.
You guys know you're welcome. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to know if they're encouraging protesters to consume double the cannabis that they usually do.
Well, I'll tell you
I
that.
don't think they're opposed. I don't think that'd be the primary mission, though.
Zara will talk about a letter that she sent along with Mike McCurdy and a few other people from the Cannabis Caucus to the governor and to the attorney general, encouraging them to do something about expungements and some of the other cannabis related issues that it seems like they may have just let slip out of their mind since the election. So
they campaigned hard on that stuff, and they haven't done that shit yet. 2 years in almost.
Do you want to like do a protest where you smoke weed at the Capitol? Is what you're saying, Roach?
Yeah, let's do that.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
Like, well, I know it's illegal to smoke inside, so they'd get us for that. But like, we should be able to go inside and
outside
hotbox a fucking session in the Capitol building.
Gotcha. That's what I want to, but I don't think that's what the goal of the organization.
That'll teach them.
Kelly, bird bombs, dog. Bird bombs.
Yeah, but that's like an attack, Bird.
No, it's not.
Instead of running up with a bunch of guns on, we'll run up with a bunch of joints.
Yeah, but like he's talking about actually pulling the triggers on these joints.
Not inside, probably.
You guys are fucking nuts.
One time I was at the Capitol and the Capitol Police had to give Rick his weed back because he left it on the ground.
His camera bag that had it got blown off the sledge because the wind was really high, and he didn't notice it. Somebody picked it up in the meantime and turned it into the police.
So the Michigan State Police have a little mini station inside the Capitol. So we had to go to the Michigan State Police mini station to get my camera bag back. And when we walk in, I said, "Hey, I've got a black bag. Want to know if you found it?" The trooper says, "Yeah, we got one, but it was full of marijuana." And I said, "Yeah, that's the one. Can I have it back, please?" So they took my ID, they took my medical card, they said, "Come back in an hour, we got some paperwork to do." There's no paperwork for this situation. They were fucking bullshitting. So we come back in an hour after these guys have been teasing me all lunch long. We were sitting at the restaurant and they're like, "Oh, you're gonna get so busted. Oh, that's anal probe with the baton coming up for you, buddy." You know, all of this stuff. They're just messing with my head. So we walk back in there, go back to the police mini station.
By the way, we were
up the door.
Weed like outside the entire time.
Oh my God! So we get back to the police mini station, open up the door, and I said, "You know, can I have my weed back?" He says, "Please take this away from us." The idiots opened up the baggie to see what the weed was about, but didn't zip close it back again. So it was just open, and it was so dank. The whole little mini station smelled like cannabis. Was giving them headaches. One of the officers had to leave. It was just, they had a double garbage bag. They put one garbage bag, tied that shit up, didn't stop the smell. So they had to put another garbage bag over it.
It was in a
Still
garbage
didn't
bag.
stop the smell.
And they were like, "Oh man, we hated the smell. We're glad you came to take it."
Please get this out of our office. Like, victory. Smelled like victory.
That's awesome.
Like, next time, don't pinch out of my bag, motherfucker.
Right.
Cops. Can't trust them. It was a great story, and I tell that every once in a while to show that, you know, police officers sometimes do the right thing. It was the right thing. I was a medical marijuana possession. I've got a medical marijuana card. There was no reason for them to keep it, and they gave it back. But how stupid is it that we have to point out their successes instead of just assuming that every time they get the law right?
For sure.
Well, let me get your guys' opinion on something. I don't know, maybe this is not on your radar, but everybody's familiar with the dabbing granny incident with her dropping the N-bomb. And a local guy here, Chef Anna with the Pot, I don't know if you guys know him.
Wait,
you should.
Does
If you
Bugs
don't,
know
you
about
should.
it? Does Bugs even give a fuck about it? I don't know if he knows about it. You
No,
know
I heard
about
Granny, the dab and granny thing, and I think we knew that was coming. After that. Let's just be honest. And she's not representing the cannabis community. She's chucking shots and gulping beer, and she's a lush. She gets free shit from people because she's old, and she's basically sucked that up like a sponge.
Look at Jamie's face. Look at Jamie's face.
Well, hold on, man. If that's shocking you, you might want to just take the headphones off.
Yeah, so we've seen some other people, taking advantage of their fat past celebrity, whatever, in the industry doing exactly the same thing.
Exactly.
So, local cannabis hero, Chef Anna with the Pot. If you don't know him, you should. He challenged her to go live and discuss the situation, and if she didn't, he was going to continue to play the clip at the beginning of his videos where she's saying, what the fuck's your problem? And she drops the N word.
Hard R.
Hard R. So they go live and they have a discussion, and I don't know, has anybody seen this?
I haven't seen it.
So the whole time that
is it on his IG?
I found it on YouTube. On this very platform here. It's not that hard to find. The whole time that he's talking, he's trying to get through to her and like make her understand that, like, it's not enough to not participate. You have to like stand up for equality. It's not just I'm not racist and turn the other cheek. And like, it's perfectly illustrated because at the same time that he's having this conversation, there's people in her chat, like her followers are quote unquote defending her against him, and they're just dropping all kinds of hard R's in the chat.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And
offering it watermelon slices and all kinds of shit.
Now Chef is that dude, man. Hats off to Chef, because like in the face of adversity, she's like trying to clean this little apology up and act like she's on board with change. And she's like, hey, why don't you be a part of this giveaway that I'm doing? And we're gonna give away some autoflower seeds, because like that's his whole thing, is the autoflower wave. 5 minutes later, AP, shout out AP, comes down and she's like, fuck that, we're not doing that, because the guy who's running the giveaway with her is one of the main people that's been stalking his page with hate. And he says that to her.
It's in the live.
Like, I guess I'm not doing the giveaway with you if you're gonna be aligned with this guy who's attacking me. Is this who you want to do the giveaway with? And she was like, yeah. Like,
anything wrong with it whatsoever?
Like, there was nothing wrong with what was going on, and her excuse was that people have conflicts and she's not a part of it. But like, she's missing the point that it's on her behalf. And I don't know, man. I think it just really illustrated what the state of mind is of people that think that this choking of a human being is okay. I think, man, like that dab and granny boomer mind state is why it's 2020 and we still are talking about like the most basic of things. When you see all these videos of police pulling up and like taking people out of their life, out of other people's lives, and ending it or putting them in jail, like, how is that different from slavery? How is that different from what was so bad in the 80s with the Contras and the Sandinistas going into villages in the middle of the night and recruiting, people for the army, and if they didn't go along with it, they got killed. And instead of the army, it's prison. And if you don't go along, you get killed still. So you tell me, man, you guys aren't the most melanated of people, but you're still subject to that, man. Like we definitely all toe the line in having an opinion here in America. And you know, I might have a greater chance, but it's a chance that it could happen to anybody that's on here. And like, how is this different from slavery?
I don't think it is different than slavery. I think it's just a new system. I think they've figured out how to pool in, you know, money from every single corner, from every single pocket in this country. And, you know, I don't, as far as what's happening to Black people, thank God for cameras. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's
And the
it's a
unfiltered
story.
internet, man.
You know,
Cameras and the unfiltered internet. Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in Buffalo. It's mixed. It's like Detroit. You know what I mean? I didn't grow up racist. There were racists, you know. I mean, because we're not a major downtown city. Most of it is, you know, countryside and whatnot. And people have their fucked up ideas about the world, and I guess they're entitled to it. But, you know, it really became a problem when it started, you know, being so apparent that there was no checks and balances, and this was going to keep happening until what's happening now is happening. You know, I mean, that's the downfall. Is everybody knew it was going to take an uprising, and they were protesting in every fucking city in America, threatening to burn down the entire country. And you know what? That's what it takes, and that's how you know democracy's bullshit.
Oh, yeah.
Sit here, if you want to pick Republican or Democrat, these people have their fucking agendas. You're not going to get in the way of that.
I mean, it stems. I mean, I think a lot of this shit stems. I mean, not racism, but it probably stems from racism. I mean, the whole prison for profit, you know, policing for profit, you know. I mean, where are they primarily fucking going to do their raids, you know? And then they're like going into the wrong house and fucking shooting people and then getting off on it.
Yeah. No consequence whatsoever for that. Now, what you're looking at is it's a new form of control. When you talk about you know, in the past, people had to pay to own slaves. Now the people that are essentially what we're calling slaves, they pay the system. System wins, right? Same people under control, but money flows in the positive direction as far as they're concerned. It's fucked up.
I mean, there's companies that their whole product line is created by prisoners. How is that not slavery? I mean, in Arizona, they clean up the freeways. They make you watch these people on the freeways, cleaning up the trash, pulling the weeds.
Well, that's the thing. Slave labor was abolished by the Emancipation Proclamation everywhere but prison.
Yeah, everywhere but prison.
So if you're in prison, you can technically be used as slave labor. And a lot of companies that you may or may not suspect actually do use prison labor to put their product out. Like Boog said, like, this shit is a business. Nothing has changed.
The parole system's set up to make people fail too. So you get out, you get this moment of freedom, and then you make a technical mistake of some kind, and then you're right back in the system again. And you're back as humans are ATM machines to the system. They make us pay for our court appearances. They make us pay the cops who arrest us. They make us pay the jailers who put us away. We have to pay for our own clothing in jail. I mean, the way that they fine and fee everyone in the incarceration system. When historians look back on this, we're not a really great people.
If you have money and you got money to, you know, put fucking, you know, handfuls of money into lawyers' pockets, you know, good, well-known lawyers, you know, then you're fucked. Like, if you don't have that money.
Like the Roman system before the fall, right? The people were so victimized and the ruling class were so immune from consequence that eventually the whole society collapsed. I don't think we're near there, but I mean, you're looking at the same thing. You're looking at the haves get richer and the have-nots get poorer. We've seen that gap grow over the last 10 years, at least. What happens to the rest of us?
It's just heartbreaking to see us so divided, to see there be two different news streams that got people's hating one another. You know, I talked to all different colored people, different religion backgrounds, and they all say the same thing. It's like our government just wants us to hate each other.
Oh yeah, I mean, I remember.
You know what I mean?
Talking about unbiased news. I don't remember any time like there being any unbiased news. You know, and at least news channels that are owned by big corporations. There's a lot of private, you know, owned newspapers, but they've all been bought out too. So
here's the thing though. I mean, we've got real video that we can all view and then make up our minds for ourselves. We can read an article from the New York Times about Trump walking weird down the stairway at the graduation for West Point, but now you can actually watch the video. So that's not being influenced by media. That's you actually watching it and saying, God, this guy looks like he's got some serious problems. The whole two-handed water drinking thing, that wasn't spun by the media. I fucking watched that. So if I've come to the conclusion that this guy may have some serious issues, it's because I watched the video and decided that for myself, not because of NBC.
Did you see him drink with one hand though? He dispelled the myth. He drank with one hand.
Oh, he probably did it on purpose, though. You know, he had to. He's been doing workouts with the weight so he could hold it with one hand.
Got the Aquafina workout going on. Yes, you have to. No, but
he had to practice that shit.
Fact is, I mean, we're talking about the race for president being occupied by two really, really old guys. And
man, that motherfucker's demented, man. Biden.
Yeah, I don't think so. I've heard Biden do some great speeches.
Congress. Did you see that video?
Oh man, talk about the videos from now. Look at the videos he's doing now. He's very great now. Have you seen the video from the church? Have you seen any of his speeches?
They're probably fucking like giving him fucking like stem cells to his brain or something. They're doing some like
Puerto Rico style stuff.
You know what,
have legal in the U.S. Right?
He has come off being a little bit more coherent lately, and he said some more leadership type things in a tough time than, you know.
Maybe he started smoking weed.
Maybe he did. And he is more open to that whole thing, which is one of our big issues with him for a long time. You know, for sure.
Yeah.
He seems to come more to a Bernie state of mind on cannabis, although he's not all the way there yet.
No, he's not all the way there, but he's much further.
You know what? If Bernie was his choice as running mate, I'd vote for him.
Yeah, he's already said it's going to be a female, but yeah, I think a lot of us would agree with
that's what I was ready to say, is that his choice of vice president is.
Man, it's Hillary. It's Hillary.
No,
hell no, no. She's already a proven loser. You don't bring somebody like that back in. What you do is you go for a Michelle Obama, maybe.
Kamala Harris is very heavily considered right
I'm not a big fan. Not a big fan of her. She was a prosecutor for so long.
I'm not a fan of Obama.
Well, yeah. I mean, as somebody who's not Republican or Democrat, who's been lied to and disillusioned by both parties, you know, explain to me why Biden doesn't just have a better speechwriter right now. Tell me why his handlers haven't just sat him down and said, look, man, you just got to shut the fuck up and read the script and you're going to win.
I don't care if that is what's going on. I don't care if he's got Jim Henson's hand up his ass, moving his mouth like a fucking Muppet. He's going to beat Trump.
They put a fucking microchip behind his ear, that fucking tells him what to say and shit, dog. I'm telling you.
He's the only one that can beat Trump. Trump's got to go. Got to go. He's terrible.
And that's the only reason that I'm going to vote for Biden. I'm not campaigning for him. I don't really like
Biden's like the last bite of cereal that tastes all nasty, but you got to take it anyway. That's what Biden is.
Roach and Berg, if you want to be in the cannabis caucus, you got to be like with Biden.
And can I just say, man, like that's like the least American thing I've ever heard you say, Rick.
Not at all. That's you can say that all you want, but this is the system. This is the two-party system. People make those decisions every single election year.
I know.
Right?
That's what's so fucked up.
Where it's at now.
That's what's so fucked up.
So millions of Americans vote like that every single year. So how is that an un-American attitude?
No, not un-American, but like, it's just like, you know, you're kind of like a seize the day kind of guy, and then you're like gonna swallow this last spoonful of Joe Biden, and like that makes me sad, man.
I would vote for anybody other than Trump. Biden was like my last choice. I've campaigned for Bernie. I phone banked for Bernie. Biden was my last choice. But again, they could run Big Bird opposite Donald Trump, and I would vote for fucking Big Bird. I need that guy out of office. He's killing the environment. What he's done to the Environmental Protection Agency, pulling us out of the Paris Accords, the whole Chinese tariff nonsense, the way they put children in cages for his motherfucking Mexican border wall. They put kids in cages. That's not America, right? That guy's got to go.
It is because in the 90s, the Democrats said I was a super predator, and they locked a lot of people that look like me up.
That's not the same, Roach.
At that age.
Well, and Clinton helped perpetuate the prison industrial complex.
Yep. Yes, he did.
What we saw in Mexico with the border wall, with these kids in cages, unprecedented.
Right, which is its own thing and its own very important, sensational, unacceptable thing. And again, the only reason I'm going to participate, I've not supported Biden at all. I'm not campaigning for him. I'm going to vote for him for the purposes of removing Trump. It sucks to be in that position. That's
it does, man. I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, like when Obama got elected, that was like the first time I ever voted, you know, and I had hope. And then it was just like, once that motherfucker got in the fucking office, man, he like really showed me like presidents ain't shit. They ain't shit, man. That motherfucker even like dug us into a deeper hole as far as like all of our fucking, you know, freedoms, like freedoms being taken away, you know, like the whole Freedom Act and all that shit. Like he could have done much more than what he did. And I was highly disappointed in him.
You look at where we're at before Obama took office. We had GW, and remember 9/11 and the Patriot Act. That's where we lost freedoms. That's where we lost privacy. That's where we lost everything.
And he signed that shit once again and added to it. You know.
And we've been taking L's, Rick. We've been taking L's.
So what's the solution then? Not participate in the system?
No,
we need to. We need to, man.
Agreed.
We need to.
Everybody should vote, even if they don't want to vote for president, right? I mean, there's always local elections. There's always state rep houses. There's always positions on a ballot people should support, even if they can't stand the two presidential candidates. Still reason for people to do the voting thing.
I mean, I feel at least, you know, I think like what was that guy, Killer Mike? Not that I agree with everything he says, but he said, you know, vote. We got to try every single thing because it's going to get to a point where we want to be able to say that we tried everything.
If ever there was a year when people supported our positions.
I mean, once Biden's in there, we got to deal with this motherfucker for another 8 years, or else he loses to somebody else.
That's the system.
This shit's fucked.
I mean, that's what presidents get is a 4-year term, big man. I mean,
Swiss cheese brain motherfucker.
Yeah, no, like the people really need to take back control of the government because, like, all the powers that are invested in the United States of America that have a economic stake in us aren't even here to experience this turmoil. You know, I feel like it's designed to collapse. And if we don't take control, it will. Because look at, like, Trump is the fucking president right now, bro. Like, that's not a path to destruction.
Is it legal for Biden to have Obama run as a vice president?
Yes, but the president's already said he's not going to do it. Obama already said, and this was, of course, this was like a year ago when Biden's name was first brought up. He said he would not be a vice presidential candidate. So he took himself right out.
I know that motherfucker.
Yeah, well, shit changes. That's true. Politicians, right? Is it Tuesday? Well, then Monday's decision got swapped. So yeah, anything's possible, I guess.
Yeah, if he got Obama back, I'll be honest, man. I think Obama's full of shit too, but it was good to hear him talk, man. Like, just to hear somebody that's in a position of leadership speak on
Oh
the
yeah,
situation.
actually, like
that graduation day thing.
Sound good. Actually, like not insulting people, and actually, trying to get people joined together. But
And
paints a picture. Good.
If anybody could keep fucking that kooky motherfucker Biden, because he's just like Dab and Granny. He's that same motherfucker.
He is. Like,
okay,
people don't know.
if anybody can keep
Oh
Biden
yeah,
under control, it's
no
Obama.
way he's a racist. He was with Obama. Fuck out of here, man.
That doesn't excuse anything.
One of his quotes about Obama was, "He's one of the good ones." Like, word? I don't know, man.
Fucked up.
He's a racist motherfucker. What do you think, Roach?
I mean, I'm gonna go the extra step with it, Berg. I'm gonna say that, like, racism is a condition of America. Like, it's embedded in us one way or another. We all have like a skewed view of each other in America.
Do you have any hope for this uprising that's taking place right now to affect change in that regard?
Here's the thing, man. Just like so many other things that have been instinctual in humanity in the past, part of what defines civilization is our ability to look past our fears and do what's right and what's moral, even though it hasn't affected all of us historically. I am hopeful that it is a possibility of the future.
I can tell you this.
How probable is it? I'd say it's probably like around 30%, 40%, but it is still possible.
It took Southern Poverty Law Center and a lot of other people have sued to try and get those Confederate monuments removed for decades. For decades, they've tried to get those things down. And then literally within like 1 or 2 weeks of people's action and protest, that action actually got accomplished. Now, whether or not that's significant in the long term, that's just one really, really obvious example of how these protests have made a difference. I was at the protest in Flint 2 days, and the second day, the mayor announced a whole set of new rules that they were going to put forth for the Flint Police Department, including allowing Black Lives Matter to have a seat on an advisory committee to the police department in Flint. That was change that came about directly because of the protests we held. And that's law. That's passed. So that sticks. I mean, I see lots of examples of positivity. Not that we've taken more than a couple steps down a really long road, but fuck. Good came out of this, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately. And like, I think like we all, regardless of political affiliations, we all feel the same way at the most basic level. Everybody feels that the looting was wrong. I think where the divide stands is the destruction of buildings and monuments, and people feeling like their history's being attacked, and they don't understand that those monuments are an attack of history in themselves.
Here's the
know,
thing though, Roach, people that recognize the Nazi flag is like horrible to Jews didn't recognize that the Confederate flag is like horrible for African Americans. They would recognize that one group of people really has a symbol of hate that they just can't tolerate, but that this other group, well, we don't really care so much about their symbols of hate.
Freedom of speech. Freedom of speech.
Yeah. Look now,
well,
where's that at
my thing
NASCAR?
is this, you know, it should be offensive to you. You know what I'm saying? Like something that was said to me that like, it kind of made things click for me. Because like I tried not to be what people think of when they call you the hard R, you know what I'm saying? When somebody drops a hard R. I tried to not be that in my life, I tried to learn stuff and not be a certain way and understand rules and all of this shit,
Shut up,
and
murder. He's
does-
out of he's having technical.
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how hard you try, man. Like people are always going to look at you a certain way, and that's fucked up. So what was said to me was like just how people were brought over here and they were shackled together and they would be from different villages and all of this shit. It didn't matter because you were chained together, and it's like still true today, man. Like we're only as strong as the weakest link. So if we're gonna defeat that, like there's like a lot more work than just some laws to be passed, man. Shout out to all the people of other ethnicities that have shown up and represented, from like the Amish and like all these other groups like Wiccans and pagans and Christians and single mothers and all of this for, Black Lives Matter and all of that. That's great. But like, we also have to like, not just wait for people to create a world for us. We also have to create ourselves to be ready for that world too, I don't know. Everybody
What's that look like, Roach? Creating making our people ready for the next level of our lives. What's that look like?
I feel like it's a lot of like this interpersonal development that has to happen, where like, people can't even get along with their siblings, let alone, somebody outside of the house. America kind of creates like these narcissistic personalities, and they're all built on like a false sense of importance. Not to say that people aren't important, but I don't know, man. Like,
Like
I
a me world, right?
Like I remember growing up, man, like this kid really was like the shit in my neighborhood because of the bike he had. Like it was a fucking bike, and that made him cool. I don't fucking know. It's like really fucking weird out here in the world, man. And like that's the shit that we really need to change. Like I always say, like legislation is not the answer. It's never gonna be the answer for the people. It might make it okay for people to be pieces of shit at work and get away with it, because I mean that seems to be what it does. But we need to change as people, the way we see each other, the way we see ourselves. It's a lot more than just being out there in the streets and protesting. It's gonna have to do with like how we treat ourselves and each other. Like, not to have a Jerry Springer moment, but like he was spitting like all we got is us. nobody's gonna be here to clean up our mess. If you gotta be a person that you want to live next to before you start feeling like people don't want to live next to you.
Be cooler to people, right? I mean, that's
We're all in this ball of humanity together, you know?
Yeah.
We're in an instant gratification society where you want what you want right fucking now and you don't want to wait.
Yeah, no, that goes for everybody, you know, like people, like all the Karens, like there's just as many Karen videos happening right now for some reason.
For sure. Shit's crazy.
Brutality
Imagine
and
if
Karen videos are just like everywhere. And
Imagine.
that's the kind of shit I'm talking about. Like they really feel like they are like, you know, administering some type of fucking supreme rule of their subdivision or their little neighborhood. Like it's that great, and like other people aren't worthy to be there. Like I don't get that shit. I don't get that shit at all.
Generational, you know, we're gonna have to grow a whole new generation of cops because this one has just grown up wrong. We're gonna have to grow a whole new generation of Americans because the ones that are in charge right now grew up at a time when it doesn't have the same values we have right now. Some of these things are just going to take decades to fix, which really sucks. It does.
Yeah, but no, man, because like
responsibility. You know? I mean, we are leaving something behind. It's easy to say, "Oh, this really sucks," because we're here. But you know, if you really believe in progress, and you know, if you've witnessed progress, which some of us have at some point in our life, you know. I mean, that is the whole point of it, is your legacy, leaving something maybe even a little bit more polished for the next generation.
And we haven't made improvements. We have over the last 30, 40 years. It would be wrong to say everything is just as bad as it was back then. Maybe, you know, especially if you're talking about cannabis law reform, we don't send people to jail like we used to. We changed felonies to misdemeanors. We changed misdemeanors to just basically traffic tickets. Took some criminality right away. That's an improvement that'll be, you know, durable for generations. So, you know, we got that in our back pocket too. Not everything is right, but.
And people need to start shaming publicly immoral behavior.
Oh,
you know, I mean, there's too much of like, oh, I don't want to say nothing because it's my coworker or it's my blah, blah, blah. You know, we see what that can turn into, the Epsteins and the Weinsteins and all this, you know what I mean? It does become this like triple-headed dragon that, you know, I think if we caught it when it was a child, you know, it wouldn't be as divisive as it is now, you know. You have people that are paid millions of dollars to divide this country.
I mean,
somebody's feeling that shit, you know.
We have like the FBI, the CIA, the DEA, the ATF, and they all have like a psychological fucking division in their ranks. They all have a mind fuck division. So if you think that they don't use that shit on you and me and everybody else in America, like, fuck out of here. Like, that's who they're preparing for, is to fight us.
Yeah.
Well, we've seen examples of the CIA actually opening up businesses and then doing things like running airlines with cocaine from international airports, but also taking out advertisements in magazines and on television in order to influence things from a corporate perspective. You know, you trace the roots back. It's an internal, you know, brainwashing session to a certain degree. So that's not hypothetical. It's all real.
Consumerism.
Yep. When the policing for profit really took off once they started making money from us, once they started treating us like ATMs. That's when they really started caring about all these little teeny technical violations. And did you leave the front door open on your house, Barbara Agro, when you, or Sal Agro, when you ran out to go help your grandchildren? Did you have 13 plants? Because, it looks like maybe a small one may have started from a rootlet next to this other big one there too. Or maybe they cut a stalk in two instead of just in one in order to make it look like two plants instead of one. When they started pursuing those little technical violations of law in order to get us,
Oh, yeah.
it's just the worst example of a long system. Now in Michigan, if you drive in the left lane too long, you can get a ticket. If you don't have your seatbelt on, if you're texting, if your license plate is not properly displayed, all of these are excuses for them to give you tickets and make you pay.
Yep.
Too much tint on your windows, got to pay a ticket. And by the way, let me see what's in your trunk, because your car smells like weed.
And like,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is what I'm gonna say, man, is like, not that I'm not holding you guys personally responsible, but like
Arizona can
America,
have their shit. Shout
like,
out to Buzz.
everything you're saying has always been illegal to do if you're black or brown in America. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's a problem now because they're using it on everybody.
I got to
You know what
stop
I'm
you right
saying?
there, man. Look, I've been busted for almost every one of those offenses I just said, and I'm as pale
Yeah.
as the day is long. So it's not just something that they use against African Americans. These are things they've used
Oh, that's
against
what
all of us of low income. I grew up in Flint. I went to the Flint public school systems. Those people hounded my neighborhoods looking for easy marks, just like everything else.
You're misunderstanding my point, Rick. I'm saying, like, at the initial end of slavery in America, like, how long has it been before you got fucked with? You know what I'm saying? That this was a prevalent behavior in low income fucking neighborhoods and in black neighborhoods and in brown neighborhoods and in yellow neighborhoods. And now that cities have gotten bigger and the overseers are in police cars and not horses, like, it's a problem. But it's like always been a problem. Like,
Oh man, like how many
change.
times have I been fucked with, Roach? And you
Right.
felt bad for me. You felt bad for me as a white man. Like straight up, you were like, damn, they fucked with me.
Like, I absolutely hated to get pulled over with Berg in the vehicle with me. Worst experiences of my life. Like, fucked up.
Is that beard related
You don't
discrimination? Is that what it is? Because,
you don't have any weapons. You don't have any weapons. You've never been to jail. Are you sure? And then they ask Roach, hey, why are you hanging out with him? Like, what?
Right. Like, some may say like poetic justice, or like, they went after the white guy and not you. This is, racism doesn't exist. Like, that didn't make me feel any better, man. Like, that's my fucking dog. And they're fucking with him like he's a piece of shit. Like, it doesn't matter who they do that to. It needs to stop. I don't know what law is going to make that happen, but I doubt it's going to be a law.
When we see chokeholds used on people all across the nation, they're being trained to do that. Now, whether it's the same people training everybody the same way or whatever, somebody said, yes, this is a good idea, let's do that. And then somebody went through and learned the training. Someone paid them to do it. Someone's, supervised and retrained other people. That's a technique that they thought was cool all across the nation, no matter where they're at. And there's a mindset problem behind that,
I've seen certain departments are no longer responding to 911 calls in protest to the protest, right? Fine. I really want to see these neighborhoods and the leaders in these neighborhoods stand up and end the crime finally in their neighborhoods, within the neighborhood, because the police aren't ever going to solve that. That's something within the neighborhood.
Roach, you're not talking about vigilantism though, right? Because
What the
that's
mob did. Yeah, you didn't piss and shit on the street when a mob was running the town. You know what I mean? It just there's layers to it.
No, and it wasn't like there was a mob in my town either. But when I grew up, man, it was like a level of respect for the neighborhood. Like, you know, all the graffiti and shit. You didn't do that in your own fucking neighborhood. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. But I don't think that's what we're gonna see on news. We're gonna see the sensational side of it, the divisive side of it, you know, the part that's clickbait, you know what I mean? Like I've been out to the protests. There's a lot of camera angles being, you know, used while relaying this news to the general population. They don't show, you know, 99.9% of what's going on. You know, that's I think a big problem, but that's news. You know, it's reality TV based now. It's not informational.
They choose the news. You know, they choose what they show you.
Yeah, and then you're gonna tune into the show that makes you feel right, and they're wrong. You know,
shit. They wrote just about that time, dog.
Yeah.
Shit.
Man,
who's the sponsors? Who's the sponsors for Medical Mondays? We might have to run that list.
Oh man, we got some integral MFers as sponsors, man. I'm proud to say, Honeybee Extractions, Native Made 313, Ghostbuster Farms, Western Tobacco, Michigan Terp Farms, Michigan Ganja Queen, and Label My Motherfucking Bud. Yeah.
All good.
All awesome sponsors. I want to thank again my boy Bugs, aka Brent. He's out in AZ for coming on tonight. Shout out to Rick and our boy Jamie again for joining us for another Medical Mondays.
Catch us for our show tomorrow, man.
For sure. You got anything to say, Roach?
Shit, man. Thanks to everybody that came on. Even C Murder, Carl Daniels. I don't know what happened to Carl, but
D-Mac in the chat.
Yeah, D-Mac in the chat. Everybody in the chat was blowing up, man. And
shout
that's
out to
a beautiful
everybody
thing, man.
in the chat. Kush Gods is in here.
Yeah, like sometimes we're in the chat, but other times, man, like we get really involved in talking and actual talking, but like the chat like takes on its own life. And I'm happy to see that community happen while we're having this conversation. So shout out to the chat. Everybody there, everybody here, you guys rock.
Yeah, anybody who watches Medical Mondays, I don't consider you guys fans. I consider you guys fan. You know what I'm saying? So thank you all for tuning in, and tune in next Monday. Stay up on our IG too. Maybe you can win some shit sometime.
Oh yeah. Oh man. The studio's about to be lit, bro. Shows are going down.
Going down? Oh yeah, we do got you know, things in the works right now.
I saw a picture. It looked really good. 4 permanent mount mics. Nice.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Lit. We out here.
Putting it all out there now. I'm just playing. But all right, y'all.